Everybody knows journalism is not what it used to be. Unfortunately, it is assumed that this constitutes a society where journalism and the news are in crisis. In his Week 5 lecture, Harrington suggested society sees journalism as a narrative of decline. Gray supports this by stating that today's journalism is usually preceded by either sorry, pathetic, or some equally destructive adjective. Harrington argues that instead of talking about decline, society should be focusing on change. It should be identified that a moral panic is only ensued because people are not always getting their news from traditional sources. Despite Sternberg labelling today's youth as a generation that rejects news, I'd have to agree that Gray is spot on when he suggests that traditional news bulletins are remarkably stale and have continually resisted technological evolution since the 50s. This states that if a medium lacks connections, it will be watched half-heartedly and will be rapidly forgotten, which indeed is the fate that traditional forms of news frequently suffer. Harrington argues there is a greater willingness for today's media to be unconventional and push the boundaries in all directions. This has provided a far more profound outlook and commentary of news events. An example of this is The Chaser, a program that has earned a strong following for wickedly satirising politics. Today's generation of young news consumers appreciate its ability to make sense of and deconstruct complex political issues in an entertaining way. Another example is The Daily Show. According to Gray, The Daily Show focuses on real people, thus offering ample motivation to go online afterwards in search of more information. Gray suggests that a shortcoming of traditional news is that it promises to tell viewers all they need to know, only to fail. However, shows like The Chaser and The Daily Show entice young viewers with small information bites, leaving them craving for more. As Harrington argues in his lecture, news is no longer a mere top-down message transmission to a mass audience, but a very sophisticated, dynamic network of information flows. Therefore, there is more direct contact between journalists and audience than ever before. Two journalists who are embracing these innovative platforms are Letitia Burke and Hamish MacDonald. These information-sharing outlets have resulted in young people no longer consuming news, but producing news themselves. In his Week 6 lecture, Harrington stated that such mediums as Blogspot and Twitter has moved political and newsworthy discourse into a conversational network and empowered those not otherwise heard. This is known as citizen journalism and has greatly expanded the news sphere, which ultimately results in a deeper analysis of news. Despite being labelled as amateurish, Fisk argues that news claiming objectivity and independence from political or media agencies is essential to the workings of a democratic society. Yes, journalism isn't what it used to be. However, I think it has changed for the better. In today's interconnected society, it is unfeasible to presume that the daily newspaper and evening news bulletin are the only sources of good news.